I'm Peter from FreedomWorks, and today we are joined by our own Steve Moore, Chair of the Task Force on Economic Revival, and Douglas Anderson, CEO of EXcoin, here to discuss what's next in the world of cryptocurrencies. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me today. So EXcoin is one of the first, if not the first, licensed digital options derivatives trading platforms in the crypto space that utilizes blockchain. Now, Steve, you're on the board to advise about global markets. What are you telling EXcoin about the effects of the coronavirus with respect to blockchain?
If there's ever a good time to start something like this, it's now. Because what we've seen in the crazy behavior of government and central banks around the country, including our own here in Washington, D.C., where you're just seeing a massive amount of government printing of money. You're seeing massive amounts of government borrowing, and the credit scores of major countries is in question right now, whether they can repay a lot of that debt. And typically when countries get into a debt problem, as you know, Doug, what they do is print money and devalue their currency. There's two, I think, very big advantages to being in cryptocurrency right now. One is you just can't trust central bankers, as we've learned during the crypto crisis. The other one, which is actually related to the crypto crisis, is personal private security and privacy. We see the government in all sorts of ways now invading people's privacy in terms of both their health and their personal financial transactions. This is a way to be involved in personal transactions without the government knowing what you do. And I happen to very much applaud that idea.
Doug, how do you see what Steve's talking about? How's it impacting EXcoin exactly?
As you know, EXcoin is one of the first, if not the first, licensed crypto digital options derivatives trading platform. We're around the world. We even have licenses like FSA in London, and we use an MT4 trading platform, which is very familiar to seasoned traders and the major exchanges around the globe. So we've actually seen an uptick in growth from the current COVID crisis, for example. And as Steve said, with the shenanigans that the governments are engaged in, investors are getting nervous about that, and oftentimes they'll look to these crypto exchanges as a hedge.
Now, Steve, can you give us your thoughts on the concern that governments around the world are piling up enormous debt and it falls printing notes or issuing bonds, treasury bonds, thereby raising the specter of inflation? What's happening there?
Yeah, well, governments have the printing press. Historically, throughout the millennium, when governments get in trouble, they print money, as many of them are doing right now. Now, we don't have much inflation right now in the American economy. A 30-year bond is selling at a 1.3% interest rate, but that could flip overnight. And I wouldn't recommend people having all their money in cryptocurrencies, but I would certainly recommend that they have some of it, as a way to hedge. That's what you're all about, is hedging against these risks. And I do believe that given the amount of massive spending that's going on, and by the way, listen to what the Democratic Party is talking about right now. They want to spend trillions and trillions more. At some point, you do run out of money, and at some point that will cause inflation, and that will cause a debasement of the currency. And you see that throughout the world, and that's one of the lessons of history. So this is exactly what Doug was saying. It's a hedge against behavior by politicians to bankrupt their countries.
And that's something that fiscal conservatives have been saying for a long time in this space.
And this is the first, now we're in a technological age that makes these kinds. It used to be, if you wanted to have a hedge against government, you had to carry around gold bricks. Right? Now you don't have to do that anymore. You can have through digital currency, which is so exciting. And I'm with Doug. I think this is the new frontier of global currencies.
Certainly. And Doug, in terms of the exchange or the EXcoin crypto digital options derivatives trading platform, has this been a concern to your business?
No, as I said, I think we've seen more business, not less. And it's not just the COVID issue. There's stresses and issues between governments. And these kinds of issues tend to influence banks and currencies. And crypto doesn't have that. Crypto really doesn't have a border. And so the market forces that affect crypto are market forces, and they're not the government. And so for that reason, I think we're seeing a lot more activity, and I think inevitably it moves in that direction.
And look, one of the reasons we're interested in this issue here at FreedomWorks is this is a freedom issue.
And Steve, coronavirus aside, I think we're seeing a lot of international shifts. There's tension, economic tension, geopolitical tension. How do you see the short-term and longer-term global economic outlook for cryptocurrency?
I think it's this is the next big thing. I really believe so in terms of transactions. We are in an age where I would say within 10 or 15 years, we're not even going to really have paper currencies. It will all be, you're just a step ahead of the curve. It will all be electronic transactions. In fact, I'm making a lot of my transactions now on my cell phone. I don't even carry much cash anymore around. So this is the next big thing. It provides competition for currencies. It's a very positive thing, I think, for global economies, and I think you're going to see continued growth. I'm not saying the dollar is going to go away. I mean, the dollar is always going to be, at least for the foreseeable future, the world currency, but you're going to have other competitors, especially, people, you mentioned this is international. I mean, if you're living in a country like, Guatemala, or if you're living in some of these Asian countries, you want to make sure that you've got a secure source for your money, and that's what these kinds of cryptos can do.
So possibly in the future, a cashless economy. Doug, your final thoughts?
So first, thanks very much for having us.
Thank you.
And it's always good to see Steve, a member of our board, and we're happy to have him helping us and advising us on the economy and where things are going. And we look forward to growth in the future with EXcoin, not only through acquisitions, but through our associations with the major global exchanges, like, for example, NASDAQ coming up. And as I said, we just got licensed in London. So we really appreciate being here and are looking forward to that growth spurt with us.
Well, Steve Moore, great to have you on as always. And Douglas Anderson, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.